This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Hey guys, Paul here. Today we are going to talk about mental health and bodybuilding. This is something that not a lot of people talk about, and I know it's a touchy subject, and I see a lot of mental illness and people struggling with their mental health and bodybuilding, and it seems to attract a certain type of individual. And certain PEDs and habits and stuff do not help the situation out. I'm going to dig into this as gently as I can, but be honest about it as well. Before we do so, please take the time to subscribe to my channel. It's the best way you can show your appreciation for what I do. I see a lot of people watching my videos, not that many people subscribing. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer each and every one of them. If you want to get in contact with me about coaching or a consultation call, you can do so by contacting me at bigp3rd@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Instagram at Paul K. Barnett. My contact information is in the video description below. All right, so mental health and bodybuilding. This is really top of mind for me right now, especially after the passing of Boston Lloyd. And I feel terrible for his family, and I almost, I really debated whether or not I should record this video because I feel guilty talking about the guy after he passed away. But it was apparent to me, and I don't know if other people really noticed it that much, but that this guy really struggled with mental health issues. To me, he seemed to have definitely some severe OCD, very compulsive personality, some sort of personality disorder, I'm guessing. I don't know what his actual formal diagnosis was. I've heard him talk about it on podcasts about how he had OCD, how he had attention deficit disorder. Not that that is a mental illness. But those combined with PE, it definitely had an addictive personality. There's people with those types of personalities can't be moderate with anything they do. They go to extremes. I heard Leo talk about it, like where Boston really tried to change his life around over the last year before he passed away, but was struggling with it. And I'm just reading between the lines here, so I apologize to him and his family, Leo, any of those guys, if I'm misinterpreting this. But my guess is that the guy really struggled with the mental and emotional aspect of changing fundamentally who he was. His entire identity was wrapped around being that guy that did the crazy transformation on Instagram. And, his identity was wrapped up in PED use. And when you have to fundamentally change your identity, that is a very, very tough thing to face, even for the best of us. And I see it, it's not just him. I see it throughout the bodybuilding industry. There's a lot of people that have obsessive personalities. There's a lot of people with anxiety, a lot of people with severe body dysmorphia, addiction. I see a lot of not just PED use, but rampant use of recreational drugs also. I don't want to go into specific names, but I know a lot of bodybuilders have been through rehab and have had their struggles in that area as well. I know Antoine Vaillant's been very open about it, and I hear about other dudes that have not been so open about it, but have had issues. And I've had it in my past as well. I had a friend of mine who was on his way up the ladder in MMA and probably would have been a top UFC guy. And he was using PEDs, and he just got wrapped up in the whole heroin opioid thing and just went down a really dark hole. And he didn't make it out. He died. And I know his family was in denial. And he had a lot of demons. The guy actually stole from me at one point. I had to cut him out of my life. It was really a hard decision to make. But I see a lot of this in bodybuilding. Disordered eating is another thing. I see a lot of people that have very disordered eating. It's especially prevalent in women. And I'm not trying to stereotype women either, but I see a lot of disordered eating in women. Body dysmorphia in men, I see more so in men. Guys worried about being small and perceiving themselves as being small when they're not. Or they just have a warped view of what they look like or what it takes to achieve a certain level of physique. And you compound this with taking certain PEDs that will exacerbate these mental health issues. Nandrolones are known for exacerbating anxiety. Guys taking nandrolone and tren and things that are going to make these issues worse. People using things like Caber, a dopamine agonist when you're already struggling with mental illness. Not a good idea. Just a really, really bad idea. And I see people do irrational, reckless things. I talked about it, in one of my recent videos, the 165 pound, 170 pound dude that's taking 2.5, 3 grams of gear. When you step back and think about it logically, it makes no sense whatsoever. Zero that you would be taking that much stuff at that body weight, but people can't help it. They have this, their identity is wrapped up into it, and they feel like it's necessary to be the person they want to be. And it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. And, you see a lot of dudes that just do, women, guys that do extreme things and go down this rabbit hole. I will tell you, to be successful at bodybuilding, you have to be a bit OCD to begin with. And so I think it tends to attract people that are very ordered and very structured. And also people maybe that were picked on when they were younger, or have a insecure image of how they look. So I think a lot of times this community attracts those types of people. I'm a very structured, very ordered, very, very detailed person. And I definitely have a little bit of body dysmorphia. I always have since I was a kid. I remember being embarrassed to take my shirt off when I was a kid because I didn't want people to see me what I looked like with my shirt off. And so a lot of that still resides with me, even almost at 50 years old. I'm aware of it. I deal with it. I cope with it. I try to be reasonable and responsible with my use, and I try to promote reasonable and responsible use for other people. But it is something that a lot of guys just don't talk about, and it is a big deal and a big issue in the industry. The funny thing is that the people that are held on the highest pedestal seem to be the ones that struggle the most with this, and for the most part, people seem to be in denial about it. I think about Rich Piana. That was a guy who clearly had issues, severe body dysmorphia, probably some severe OCD. A guy, I'm guessing, that probably, from what I've heard, struggled with drug addiction. He was a very lively personality and someone that people were attracted to. For God's sakes, the guy supposedly was going down to Mexico and pumping his body full of silicone to achieve that crazy, freaky look that he had, because he couldn't imagine living a life without having that look, and his entire identity was wrapped up into it. You get to a point where you'd rather be dead than to lose your identity. That's what happens to a lot of these people, really. I mean, I think that's probably, what happens in a lot of these situations is, rather than making lifestyle changes, And that's why you see guys do things that are reckless for their health, and you think, what the fuck are they doing, man? Why are they continuing to do this when they're going to die? And it's because they would rather be dead than to lose their identity. And I get it. I totally get it, and I totally empathize with it. But it's something to talk about, and it's something to be cautious with and to be aware of, be sympathetic to as well. If you see somebody struggling, talk to them, reach out to them. I wish, I know in situations in my past, my friend that passed away, I talked about, I think all the time, what could I have done? What could I have done more? I've had people in my life that struggle with addiction, and it's really hard to deal with as a friend, as a partner. There's a fine line between being codependent and helping. So at some point, sometimes you have to draw a line in the sand, but it's a hard one to figure out where it's at. But be aware of it, be compassionate, talk to people, try to help them when you can. I think that's the lesson here. And if you're somebody who struggles with these things, be careful before you go down this path. Be very careful. It's something that could end up spiraling out of control. All right, guys, if you have comments, thoughts on this, please put them in the comment section below. Take care.